If you want a woman to truly feel something when she's around you, you need to understand a point most men completely miss. It isn't about talking more, and it definitely isn't about trying harder. It's about knowing exactly what to say in a way that genuinely connects with her on a deeper level. Most men misunderstand this. They assume attraction is built through effort, through impressing her, or through constant conversation to keep her attention. But the reality is that the more you speak without intention, the less powerful your words become. That's why so many interactions end up feeling forgettable. Think about the compliments many men give. You look nice, you're beautiful, or I like your outfit. There's nothing wrong with these, but they rarely spark a real emotional response. She's likely heard them countless times, which means they don't stand out. They don't make her pause, and they certainly don't make her remember you later. This is where the real difference begins. Attraction isn't created by surface level words. It's created through emotional impact. When you say something that touches how she feels, how she sees herself, or how she experiences the world, her energy shifts. She becomes more present, more engaged, and more aware of you, often without even realizing why. That isn't luck, it's psychology. Most men never learn this, so they stay stuck offering the same predictable compliments and receiving the same predictable reactions. Over time, they become just another interaction. Nothing memorable, nothing unique. But once you learn to speak with intention, everything changes. You don't need to say a lot. You simply need to say the right thing at the right time. When you do, your words start to carry real weight. In this video, I'm going to share 8 compliments that go far beyond the surface. These aren't random lines or rehearsed phrases. They're specific ways of speaking that create emotion and connection. The kind that makes her feel seen and understood. Once you learn how to use them, you won't just be another guy having a conversation. You'll be the one she remembers afterward. Now that you understand why most compliments fall flat, the next step is seeing what actually creates attraction. This is where many men get confused. They believe attraction is based on external factors like looks, money, or status. While those things may get attention, they don't create emotional connection. And without emotional connection, attraction doesn't last. What truly matters is much simpler: how you make her feel in the moment. When she interacts with you, she isn't only hearing your words, she's responding to how those words affect her emotionally. Does she feel understood? Does she feel seen? Does she feel like you notice the details others overlook? That's what creates impact. This is why 2 men can say completely different things, yet one leaves a lasting impression while the other is forgotten. It's not just about what is said, it's about the depth behind it and the emotional connection it creates. Most men stay on the surface. They compliment what's obvious: her appearance, her outfit, anything anyone could notice. As a result, their words feel generic and predictable, easy to ignore. But when you shift your focus from what's obvious to what's meaningful, everything changes. You begin to notice how she carries herself, how she interacts with people, the energy she brings into conversations, and the way she expresses herself. When you speak about those things, your words carry a different weight. You're no longer describing her, you're understanding her. And that's rare. Research in human behavior shows emotional responses are strongly influenced by personal relevance. When your words connect to something deeper about her identity or experience, the reaction becomes stronger because it feels real. This is the difference between being heard and being felt. Most men are heard, very few are felt, and those are the ones who stand out. Before we get into the compliments themselves, you need this foundation. This isn't about memorizing lines, it's about changing how you think when you speak. Once that shift happens, every word you say becomes more impactful, and attraction starts to feel natural instead of forced. Now let's look at the mistake that keeps most men stuck. It's simpler than you think. They give compliments without intention. They talk just to fill silence. They say whatever comes to mind without considering the emotional effect. As a result, their words feel empty even when they sound positive. That's why you hear the same phrases repeatedly. You look good, you're beautiful, you seem nice. Again, there's nothing wrong with these statements, but they don't create anything meaningful. Over time, they become background noise. She hears them, but she doesn't feel them. And attraction is built on words that are felt, not merely heard. Another common mistake is focusing only on appearance. Complimenting looks can get attention, but if that's all you do, the connection stays shallow. Surface level attention is easy to replace. If multiple men compliment her appearance, none of them stand out. But the moment someone speaks to who she is as a person, her mindset, her energy, her presence, that's when things change. Because now she feels understood, and that feeling is rare. Many men also overdo compliments, thinking more praise equals more attraction. In reality, the opposite happens. Too many compliments feel forced and reduce their value. When everything is praised, nothing feels special. A single well-timed compliment carries far more weight than many random ones. So before thinking about what to say, remove the habit of speaking without intention. Once you do, everything else becomes easier. Now let's move into the first compliment that creates a real emotional reaction: her fragrance. Most men don't even notice this, and if they do, they rarely mention it. That's exactly why it stands out. It shows awareness. Saying something like, "That fragrance you're wearing is addictive," does more than comment on how she smells. It shows you notice details others miss. Attention is one of the strongest forms of attraction. There's also a psychological layer here. Scent is closely tied to memory and emotion. When you acknowledge her fragrance, you link yourself to that sensory experience. Over time, that creates association. The next time she smells that fragrance, she may remember the moment and how she felt. That's how small moments become lasting impressions. Delivery matters. If you exaggerate or sound overly excited, it loses impact. Keep it calm, natural, and genuine. Timing matters too. Say it when the moment feels relaxed and comfortable. This compliment works because it's different and personal without being overwhelming. The second compliment focuses on her smile. Most men say, "You have a nice smile," and stop there. Polite but forgettable, instead focus on its effect. Your smile changes the mood around you. Now you're not describing how it looks, you're describing what it does. That shift creates emotional impact because you're acknowledging her effect on the environment, not just her appearance. A smile is one of the most natural expressions a person has. When you recognize it meaningfully, you connect with something authentic. This often makes her smile more naturally, lightening the energy between you. Avoid overusing it or sounding exaggerated. Say it once, naturally, and let it land. The third compliment moves deeper: her authenticity. Saying, "I like how real you are. You don't try to fit in," acknowledges her identity, not her appearance. In a world full of pressure to conform, recognizing authenticity feels personal and genuine. It removes pressure and makes her feel accepted, which builds trust quickly. Next, acknowledge her perspective. "I like the way you see things. It makes me think." This shows you value her thoughts. When someone feels heard at that level, connection deepens and conversations become more meaningful. Then we move to her energy and her thoughtfulness, saying, "I like your energy. It makes being around you feel different." reflects how her presence affects you. And telling her she's thoughtful recognizes her character and the effort she puts into others. Something rarely acknowledged. The final two compliments go even deeper: her drive and her presence. Recognizing her ambition shows you see her direction and potential, building respect. And telling her she makes people feel comfortable acknowledges her emotional intelligence and ability to create connection. These compliments are powerful because they're future-focused and emotionally grounded. They recognize who she is and who she's becoming. Words like these stay with her because they feel real. But remember, this was never just about the words. It's about how you think when you speak. Compliments only work when they're genuine, well-timed, and delivered calmly. Say them once and let the silence do the rest. She may not remember your exact words, but she will remember how you made her feel. That feeling is what lasts. So instead of saying more, focus on saying less with intention. Pay attention, observe, speak when it matters, and mean what you say. When you do, you don't just have conversations, you create moments, and those moments make you unforgettable. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these compliments do you think would make the biggest impact? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read them and respond to as many as I can. And if this changed how you view attraction, make sure you subscribe, because in the next video, we'll take this even further. Not just what to say, but exactly when to say it. That's where most men get it wrong.